It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, broadcasting from the 44th Annual Sidewalk Sale here at Red Stick Sports. The deals are fantastic. I'm looking at a wall full of LSU shirts. They got the fishing shirts over here. Got some great logos on the fishing shirts. They got the LSU baseball cascading LSU. Then you got the outline of the state of Louisiana with the helmet stripe that runs through it. Also got the script shirt that's got the Tigers that goes on the baseball uniforms. All of it, 25% off here at Red Stick Sports. So if you've got an LSU fan in your life, or if you are an LSU fan, get on by and see these awesome deals at Red Stick Sports. Speaking of LSU, Koki Riley up in Norman, Oklahoma, covering the baseball team for the Advocate. Good enough to give us a little bit of time here on this Friday. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you?
Doing well. How's it going?
Going quite nicely. What's the temp up there in Norman right now? Because it did not look like springtime on television last night.
Yeah, it claims it's the 50s, but if you click on the little "What does it feel like" button on the weather app, it's more like 40s. So that's kind of the vibe here. It was pretty windy last night. The wind calmed down by the end of the night, but it was pretty windy, especially at the beginning of the game, and wet all around because it's been raining on and off for the last 2 days. So it's pretty nasty stuff out here, not going to lie.
We'll see how that works. I know you're well-versed in hanging out at the ballpark for extended hours during the baseball weekend. We'll see what happens up there. Obviously, last night, Kade Anderson was the story during the game. You started to ask some questions after the game, and obviously Nate Yeske came up and what he was dealing with yesterday with the loss of his father. Kind of walk us through that Q&A session. You talked to Jay, you talked to Kade, and obviously an emotional day for Nate Yeske yesterday.
Yeah, just a little insight. I was actually talking to Jared Jones because he was the first person I talked to as I was doing my post-game interviews, and then in the corner of my eye, I saw Kade and Nate really embraced, had that hug, and I even mentioned that in the story. And when I saw that in the corner of my eye, I could sort of see a kid getting pretty emotional while that was happening. So I just sort of clocked that before I talked to him next, as any decent reporter should. And then when I talked to Kade, I asked a few questions in. I asked what I asked about that moment, and then Kade just said that. And Nate's father unfortunately passed away on Thursday, so it's just another. It just adds another layer to this story of yesterday and just how incredible it was from really all sides. Like Kade to bounce back and be as good as he was, to have the best performance probably of his life, and then his life so far, I should say. And then with Nate Yeske to call pitches and to really pull the string as many times as he did in that game with what he was going through too. It was a pretty remarkable night on a whole bunch of different levels.
I thought you captured it brilliantly in your story at the Advocate for today. It was great stuff, and obviously Kade Anderson had a lot of great stuff yesterday. I want your reaction first when he came back out for the 8th inning, and then from the press box when he came back out for the 9th inning.
Shock, surprise. I really didn't expect them to do that because, again, we're in early April. There's a lot of season left to be had, and I just felt like, did he have the juice to throw in the 8th and the 9th? Maybe, but did you want to do that, given that you still got a long season and you got your best relievers, I should say, all ready to go for this game? And I mean, Zach Cowan was warming up at one point, so it's not like he wouldn't have been ready to come in at a moment's notice. It was surprising, especially on that front when, Cowan's also, it's also a pretty different pitcher, right? It's a right-hander. It's change-up dominant. Like it would have given them a different look. And I would have been I think if you're an LSU fan, you would have been really confident to win that game 2-0, even if you just put him in the game, but they didn't. They let it ride out with Kade. And I have that in my story, just Jay explaining why he decided to do that. And I think the getting the extra day of rest definitely helped with getting Kade up to 135 pitches. But man, like that is incredibly aggressive considering that it's SEC games are important. Don't get me wrong, but this is the College World Series. This is to do that in a regular season game is a lot. So I thought it was really surprising.
Kade, we spoke with him after an outing early in the season where his line was great, but he didn't finish the sixth inning, and he was not real happy about that. I got to imagine last week he was even more disappointed, being that he really didn't have his best stuff and didn't get out of the fifth. What kind of bounce back was this for him, and how personally do you think he took how last week's outing ended?
I think, he talked about kind of how he just wanted to flush what happened last week. And I don't think last week was really about his stuff being that down or really any of that. It was about not leaving pitches right over the middle of the plate. And Cade's got really good stuff, but he's not someone who can necessarily leave a bunch of stuff over the plate and get away with it. His fastball is in the upper 90s. He doesn't have that crazy Paul scheme slider that Paul had. But if he can sequence stuff and the way he can hide the ball, and given how many pitches that he can throw well, like if you can really do a good job of locating all that stuff, that's when he can get on a roll and look unhittable. And that's exactly what happened last night. And I think that the reason why he'd given home runs had been a bit of a bugaboo so far for him, right? 8 home runs and 7 starts before this week. And you didn't see any in this game. And I think it's pretty simply because, he wasn't leaving anything over the upper of the plate really at all. And when he's counting the strike zone while not, throwing it right down the middle, he becomes incredibly hard to hit, given how many things that he's good at as a pitcher.
He was fantastic in the ball game last night. LSU didn't exactly light up Kyson Witherspoon. I don't know if anybody's going to do that this year, but they certainly executed when they had to and pushed a couple of runs across. What did you make of LSU's offense last night?
I think it's interesting how Luis Hernandez is much better in conference play than he is in non-conference play. 2 doubles in yesterday, both of them coming off Witherspoon. So I think last night was kind of a good testament of how deep this lineup is, because the bottom 3 guys actually did better than the top 6 guys in this game. I mean, Stanfield missed the bunt sign at that one point, but he still got the RBI hit. You got 2 doubles from Luis Hernandez. But the top 6 guys in the order had 3 hits combined. So I thought it was kind of interesting from that perspective, but really overall, I think they did enough to work Witherspoon, get a run across. That 2-out hit from Jared Jones was absolutely huge. It was a 3-2 slider on the outer half, and he just did a really good job of just, taking, not pulling the ball and just sort of taking it the other way in a 2-strike count. That was really a beautiful piece of hitting from a guy who, the guy whose hit tool was kind of a question mark, not just heading into his freshman year, but heading into last season even too. And now, the way that, Jared can consistently put the ball in play now, to combine with his power is what makes him a really dangerous hitter. And I think you saw that on display last night.
We know now that Kason Evans and Zach Cowan can be counted on for 50 or 60 pitches if need be. Do you think with a win in the rearview mirror and those 2 guys very much available, that the leash shortens up on Hyenson and or Shores over the next 2 days?
Potentially. I mean, obviously, depending on the score, depending how well these guys are throwing. And don't get me wrong, like, Einstein and Shores have still got to keep them in the game at the very least through, the first 4 or 5 innings that they're throwing. But, I mean, your bullpen's in better shape heading into these next 2 games than it's been all year heading into a back half of the series because, of course, you get the complete game shutout. So, because of that, I could see, if Anthony's in trouble or Shores is in trouble early on, 3rd or 4th inning, then Jay could turn to his bullpen, could turn to Zach, could turn to Case, and maybe he goes those 2 guys back to back on Saturday and Sunday if they can, keep their pitch counts.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Low enough because, again, you kind of do have the extra day of rest or so because next week's series is a Friday to Sunday. I think that's a good thing to remember heading into next week. Gives a little extra rest for everybody involved, including myself. So I think I don't think they should be afraid to go all out. These next 2 games for sure.
We'll see. We will be following along. Koki Riley up there in Norman covering the LSU baseball team. Tigers 8-2 at this point through 10 SEC games in a prime spot right now. Now an opportunity to take a series against a top 10 team on the road. They'll start things up tonight at 6:30. Koki, we appreciate the time. We'll be reading and safe travels back to Baton Rouge.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
He's Koki Riley with the Baton Rouge Advocate. We're here at Red Stick Sports for their 44th annual Sidewalk Sale. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. Out on the schedule to talk Saints here. I'll pump that back to 2:30. Let's just stick with LSU baseball, and I'll tell you what I thought about the decision to leave Kade Anderson in the ballgame last night. I've given every single bit of this a look, and I'll give you my thoughts on it when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
As I mentioned, we're here at Red Stick Sports, 5770 Essen Lane in Baton Rouge. It's the 44th annual Sidewalk Sale. The deals are absolutely unbelievable. Talking about bats and gloves, half off. That is far from insignificant. I picked up a bat a little bit earlier. Talking, it could be upwards of $350, $400. You get half off of that for a bat. That is absolutely worth it. Your Under Armour bags, $19.95. All Adidas fleeces, 75% off. There's deals wall to wall, literally, here at Red Stick Sports. So come on by. The big tent is out front. Got tons of shoes and bats out there. If you're looking for your Adidas and Under Armour workout apparel, half off of that as well. So come on by at Red Stick Sports here. We're on Essen Lane. If you can't make it today, 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock tomorrow is when the sale wraps up. It's the 44th annual Sidewalk Sale right here at Red Stick Sports.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. Appreciate Koki Riley for giving us a little bit of time. Hopefully LSU baseball gets these next 2 in without too much of a hitch weather-wise, but it just looks like a nasty weekend up there in Norman. The highs are in the 50s. There's rain forecast for a lot of the weekend, so we'll just stay posted and see what the next couple of days brings for LSU and Oklahoma. But certainly last night, an incredible start to the weekend for LSU. I spent the first 15 minutes of the show today talking about how great that win was, how great Kade Anderson was, how well LSU executed offensively in a couple of innings off one of the toughest pitchers in the country, and just how great it is to watch LSU over the last 3 weeks really show they can win different kinds of games. You can beat aces, you can win slugfest, you can hit home runs, you can drop bunts down, you can win 2-1 and 2-0. You can win, I think it was like 18-7 was the final score of Game 3 against Mississippi State, and all that's fantastic. I got a ton of blowback on a tweet that I sent out during the game last night. And the tweet was very simple. It was not super detailed. It was not super opinionated. Just one little sentence I tweeted out in the 8th inning of the game when Kade Anderson went back out there. Don't love this many pitches. I did not send out fire the coach. I did not send out this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I did not send Kade Anderson's going to blow his elbow out. I did not send any of those things. I just said, don't love this many pitches. And I didn't. So before we get too deep into it, I just want to say that I've looked at this entire situation. I know that wins are really important and that Kade Anderson was pitching great and gave you a great chance to win. I know that LSU has an extra day of rest because this is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, and next week is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know that Kade Anderson had not lost a significant amount off his fastball, about a mile an hour or two, which is normal in the 8th or 9th inning. I know that LSU was going to take him out of the game if he gave up a base runner. I know that he retired the last 9 that he faced. I know that they were low-stress pitches because nobody was on base. I got all that. I also know some other things. I know that it was chilly. I know that it's April. I know that Kade Anderson last season as a freshman at LSU threw a total of 38 1/3 innings. He entered last night having thrown 38 1/3, the exact same number in this season. So last night he passed his entire innings total from 2024. And he's got a lot more innings on his plate. I know that Kade Anderson had Tommy John surgery 3 years ago. So all of these factors, to me, would suggest that 135 pitches is a really, really heavy workload. Again, it's not a terrible decision by Jay Johnson. It doesn't mean Kade Anderson's going to fizzle the rest of the way. I'm not even being that demonstrative in my take. I'm just saying, like, that's a little more than I would like to see. Now, I'm perfectly well aware. I get a lot of these comments, too. I'm going to trust Jay Johnson and not you. Well, obviously, Jay Johnson's the coach. It is, however, my job to analyze the team. That's why I'm here. I could just read the stat sheet off if you'd like that. I'm supposed to give you an opinion, and my opinion, which could be completely on point, could be completely wrong. I do both of those every day. My opinion is 135 pitches is a lot for Kade Anderson in April. I feel differently if we're talking about a College World Series game when it's 86 degrees outside and Paul Skeens at 6'6", 250 is throwing 122 pitches. Like, I'm okay with that. Kade Anderson, recent Tommy John guy, passing his season's innings total in a game in April when it's cold outside. I didn't love it. Hopefully, it's much ado about nothing. And Kade gets his extra day, and he's phenomenal the rest of the way. But my opinion is that's a little bit much. There's got to be a reason why we don't really see that anymore. I can't recall an LSU pitcher throwing 135 pitches since I've been down here and watching for the last 18 years. So, again, I'm not calling it completely egregious, which I would do if Kade Anderson came back on 2 days rest in the SEC tournament and threw another 90. I would fly off the handle. Like, that's in the arsenal. I can do that. This is not that. It's just, probably wouldn't have done that. But hopefully it's no big deal. That's the hope. But what it did do is set you up for the rest of the weekend to be in an incredible spot. You've got Zach Cowan ready to go. You've got Kason Evans ready to go. And those guys can either take the reins early in one of the next 2 games if you want to have a quick leash, or can slam the door late in the game with extended innings and can do it twice. You can have both of those guys ready to go on Friday and on Saturday. And that's awesome. Today, LSU is going to face Cade Crossland from Oklahoma. He's a left-hander, got a really nice, smooth delivery, got a fastball that's up to 95 miles an hour. It was last week when it was warm in Tuscaloosa. He's got a slurvy breaking ball, but he's not a guy that's been in the rotation a long time. He's actually been in the rotation for all of 1 week. They've had to shuffle some things. Kyson Witherspoon's twin brother was in the rotation. He's struggled. Cam Johnson couldn't throw it anywhere near the plate when they put him out there, so he's been demoted basically out of the rotation completely. So they've had to fill 2 spots in their rotation that Malachi Witherspoon and Cam Johnson couldn't hold down, and Cade Crossland has been the first guy they've promoted to that spot. LSU's seen a ton of left-handed pitching over the last 3 weeks, and so this will be another shot. You would imagine Michael Braswell will be in the lineup. You would imagine that Ethan Fry's been in there against right-handers at this point, so he'll be in there as well. And it's probably not going to be another great day to hit. You're talking about a chilly day where the wind's probably going to be blowing in. You've got to offensively execute. Now, you've got a guy that doesn't strike out as many hitters in Crossland that Witherspoon does and shouldn't miss as many barrels as Witherspoon does. So I like LSU's matchup in this game from a starting pitching perspective. Ianson versus Crossland, from LSU's lineup versus Oklahoma's, and LSU's bullpen is locked and loaded. So I think that LSU's in a great spot in this game on Friday night, and that is a credit to Cade Anderson for getting to the finish line. And then, of course, Jay Johnson makes that decision. So here LSU is ready to rock in Game 2. So fired up for that. It's a 6:30 first pitch. You can listen on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame will start at 6 o'clock. It's Bill Franquez and Chris Blair on the call. All right, I gave my thoughts on that, Beck. I'm curious yours, because I got ratioed like crazy on my tweet. I got people tweeting at me this morning that Jay Johnson knows more than me. Then I got a guy that told me that I was a hypocrite because I said to send Cade Anderson back out there when he had 95 pitches, but then said he threw too many pitches, which I think there's a bit of a difference in 95 and 135 to the tune of 40 pitches. So what do you think about sending Cade Anderson out there for 135 last night?
I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch the game. In fact, it was like 8:15, 8:20, 8:30. I don't remember what time it was. I'm like, let me go check what the LSU score is. And the game's already over. I'm like, what? The game ended in 2.5 hours. Wow, okay, it was 2-0. I checked the stat line and see pitch count 135, and I'm like, that's got to be a typo. 135 pitches. I don't know that I've seen that in recent memory. So it was quite jarring to see that. And obviously, I agree with you that it was an incredible performance and he made it through. But I'm kind of with you. This is still very early in the season, and 135 pitches is just for anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Even in Paul Skeen's 135, that's a lot of pitches for anyone. Much less a guy like Cade Anderson who really hasn't thrown that many innings. Going back to last year and this year. So that is a lot early in the year. I mean, I think you're always going to have people, if they were to pull him in the after the 8th and send someone else out, probably Kason Evans or Zach Callen to finish the game in the 9th inning. There would have been people, you got to let him finish the complete game, and then there's people who don't care. So there's always going to be both sides of the coin. So I'm with you though. And after the 8th, I'm okay pulling him. He wasn't on a no hitter or a complete game or anything like that. So I'm okay pulling him after the 8th, and I think you stretching him out for 40 more pitches in the 9th was a bit much.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
We'll see. I was just lambasted on the Twitterverse for that, but and again, I'm not going nuts here. I don't think it was some sort of miscarriage of justice. Just a little bit rich for my blood for 135 pitches, but that's the rearview mirror. Time now to go get Game 2, and we'll see Cade Anderson a week from tonight back home against, I believe, Auburn comes to town next weekend. But I honestly I can't say that for certain. But we'll see next week when we see Cade Anderson once again. Cool news that I just saw on Twitter. I don't think it means a lot to the people here in Baton Rouge that are listening, but Chase Dolander, former Tennessee ace, who obviously LSU saw up there in Omaha. Well, he didn't pitch against LSU, but he was certainly there and pitching for Tennessee in some other games there. Was the ace of that great team 3 years ago. He just got his call up to the Colorado Rockies with further proof. You're seeing guys in the SEC that are really, really close to the big leagues. They get up in less than 2 years in a lot of cases, and I think the two guys you saw last night, in Kyson Witherspoon and Cade Anderson, have got a chance chance to be big league pitchers in the next 3 years for sure. So cool for Chase Dollander to head up to the Rockies. Chris Bryant will be. Chris doesn't play third anymore. I think he plays left field. He'll be on his team. I like Chris Bryant. He won a World Series and MVP with a different team that I like a lot. So let's come back and talk some Saints. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Bathrooms can be a hazardous spot, especially as folks age. If there's a loved one in your life who's aging a little bit but wants to stay home, mitigate some of that risk in the bathroom. You can't eliminate it, but you can try to mitigate it with some non-slip floors. You can do walk-in tubs that are more convenient and safer. You can do handrails around slippery areas. You can do a shower that's got a bench in it as well. All that stuff David Duvall and his team do all the time. Maybe it's not something that's for safety, maybe it's for aesthetics. They do vanities, can obviously do showers as well. It's One Bath and Closets. Get that free consultation online at onebathandclosets.com. They've got financing available, 0% up to 18 months, same as cash if you qualify. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Check them out at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's a Lenten Friday. Get on by Corks. Get you that jumbo gulp shrimp, crispy fried catfish, shoestring fries. Get your po' boy, crawfish etouffee. It's all there at Corks. Awesome, awesome stuff. It's from the folks that brought you Kuyons across the river. Got that fairly new. It's now been there for 3 years, so not that new, but it's right there on Government between Foster and Jefferson. You can check out the menu at corksfishandshrimp.com. Appreciate them for making our Friday shows possible each and every week. The greatest combine performance in the history of the combine could be headed to the New Orleans Saints. Does that sound interesting to you? I didn't even realize that he had put together the greatest combine in the history of combines because I don't spend a ton of time paying attention to the combine. I know there are some of you football freaks that are all about it all the time. I think the combine's important. I know the draft is absolutely vital, and I like to assess the results when the time has come. I just don't grind it day to day, so I couldn't have told you that Nick Emenwari from South Carolina put together the greatest combine effort ever. This is from a tweet from @MathBomb. But it said he put together an unofficial 10 relative athletic score out of a possible 10. That's the best from 1,079 strong safeties that have done these tests from 1987 to 2025. Nick Emenwari, who came into the combine as a physical strong safety, not like rail thin, like this dude is put together. He ran a 4.38 40 at 220 pounds. 4.38 at 220 pounds. Then he jumped 43 inches. And he had an 11-foot 6-inch broad jump. We know how much the Saints prioritize relative athletic score, and we hear it more often with the offensive linemen and defensive linemen. But if they're looking at it in terms of safeties as well, Nick Emenwari makes a lot of sense as somebody they would be very, very interested in. And it sounds like they brought him in for a visit. Now, we've talked about some different players, some different positions, and what makes sense for the Saints to do in this draft early on. And most of the time, I would look at a position, if the Saints want to draft a really good player there, I'm going, yep, that makes a lot of sense. And safety absolutely qualifies here. You're talking about a position where you've got Tyrann Mathieu, but he's 33 years old with 1 year left on his deal. You signed Justin Reed to come in and help. You've got Jordan Howden as well. But I'm thinking always about the next really good Saints team. I don't believe 2025 to be the next really good Saints team. I believe 2025 to be a mediocre to bad Saints team. I hope they prove me wrong, but that's what I think. So I don't really care how much Nick Emenwari helps this team. If you tell me he's got to come in and sit behind Justin Reed and Tyrann Mathieu, that's fine. I'm worried about the year after that, and more importantly, the year after that, when Tyron is certainly not going to be with the Saints, and you've got potentially a really big physical playmaking safety who can fill his footsteps. I think Nick Amenwori would be a great pick if and when the Saints decided to take him. Don't know if that's something that you would have to look at 9, probably something you could look at more closely in the second round. You can never rule out Mickey Loomis making some kind of move up. I wouldn't necessarily endorse that, but this is a player that I think makes a lot of sense. He was a very, very good player at South Carolina and certainly has athletic traits that you absolutely cannot teach. I'm all for getting younger, more athletic, and cheaper, as you well know. Nick Amenwori makes a lot of sense from that perspective, and it sounds like there's some significant interest from the Saints there. Another place where the Saints are said to have interest, and a pick that I would really, really like, would be Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State. Now, that's a pick that you would have to make at 9. That's where you would have to go to get him. And you look at the Saints depth chart at tight end, and you understand that they've, made their bed with Juwan Johnson re-signing, and they've still got Foster Moreau under contract, and we'll see what Taysom Hill's future lays. But to me, I think Tyler Warren is as high a floor player as there maybe is in this draft. He's going to be big. He's going to run fast. He's going to catch the ball. We've seen some of these tight ends come in early, and honestly, probably the best comp for Tyler Warren is Brock Bowers. They were both incredibly dynamic college players that were the focal point of powerhouse offenses in elite conferences. And even though teams were making it a point to try to take them away, they couldn't do it. And I think that Tyler Warren probably has a similar impact in the NFL that you saw from Brock Bowers, who set the rookie tight end record. So, yeah, I'm all for that. And I don't really care if you've got to move Foster Moreau aside for the year, if Juwan Johnson's playing time gets cut into. Like, I'm not going to let that contract scare me from going to get what I deem to be a significant upgrade at the position. I didn't like the Juwan Johnson contract when you signed it, but that's done. So there's no fixing that. But there's no question in my mind that Tyler Warren is a significant upgrade from Juwan Johnson. I just think he's a much better player. So if the Saints were to go that direction, even though it's a deal where you look at the depth chart and go, well, how's he going to get to the field? Oh, he'll get to the field. He'll get to the field. And so while these visits continue to trickle out, what the Saints are going to do here, who are they visiting here, whose workout are they attending, who are they going to dinner with, you just kind of keep your antenna up and see what shakes out. These two names I like a lot for very different reasons. Amenwori just because he's a physical freak. Warren because his floor seems to be so very high. And I know that there are veterans at both of those spots, but again, I just don't really care. There's a veteran at running back, and Ashton Genty gets mocked to the Saints all the time. There are very few players on this team that I can think of who are in such good standing and at such a good place in their career and contract that you cannot draft someone at their spot that could potentially take over. I'm not necessarily in a hurry to take a left tackle because of Fuaga did. I'm not going to go draft a center. Those are probably two positions that I'm not looking to upgrade at directly, even though if you did take a tackle, you could move him to right. But that's probably about it. I don't mind you taking the next middle linebacker because Demario Davis is getting up in age. I don't care if you take a running back. I don't care if you take the next Chris Olave. His future is in peril. I don't care if you take a tight end. I don't care if you take a safety. Pass rusher, all looks good to me. And as I assess these options, Amenwori's the high ceiling, Warren's the high floor. I think both make a ton of sense, and it sounds like the Saints are expressing some interest in both of those guys this year. So that's our look at the New Orleans Saints. You're looking for our Saints content. You can always find that at Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your podcasts, and, of course, on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Subscribe to that channel. We certainly do appreciate that. For your LSU content, Hunt on LSU. I want to remind you this. I've said this a couple times over the last couple of weeks, but want to reiterate for those that haven't heard. If you if you download the 104.5 ESPN app, you can always listen to us live, and all of our stuff is on demand there, and that's great. But another thing that the 104.5 ESPN app can do for you right now is it's hooked to LouisianaSports.net, and you can get your notifications turned on, and we'll push important stories to you via notification. I promise it's not every story we write, not even close. It's not one a day. It's not even close. But like Damian Collins just jumped in the transfer portal for basketball. If you have the 104.5 ESPN app downloaded, you'll get that push. If there's a rain delay and you're planning on going out to an LSU baseball game and we get word that the game is delayed, sometimes we get that information pretty early, being that we carry the games on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Download the app. Make sure you get the push notifications so you'll know first and immediately when that delay happens. That's we think, a convenient thing, and I promise we're not spamming your inbox with stuff. This is stuff that we think you want to know. Football commitments, rain delays, coaching hires, that kind of thing is going to be pushed right to you. So download the 104.5 ESPN app and enable your notifications. We'll send you that from LouisianaSports.net. We have got one more break to go this week. We'll come back and wrap things up from Red Stick Sports next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Mention we're here at Red Stick Sports. It's their 44th annual sidewalk sale till 5 o'clock today, so about 2 more hours today, and then 9 to 2 o'clock tomorrow. The deals are incredible. LSU apparel, 25% off all over the place. They got quarter zips, fishing shirts, jerseys, long sleeve T-shirts, all that is available at 25% off. If you've got a youth athlete in your house, want to buy some football cleats for the fall, half off. It's still baseball season for you. You want to grab any of your baseball bats and gloves, half off. Shoes, 20 to 75% off. All Adidas and Under Armour workout apparel, half off here at Red Stick Sports. Right here, 5770 Essen Lane. Come on by today until 5 o'clock or tomorrow, Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's the 44th annual sidewalk sale right here at Red Stick Sports.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
We're wrapping things up here from Red Stick Sports. Just got news, and I mentioned it there in the last segment. Damian Collins, guess now former LSU forward, has entered his name into the transfer portal. Collins has had a winding road, was a McDonald's All-American, 5-star recruit that signed with John Calipari at Kentucky. Didn't get on the floor much for a couple seasons in Lexington, had a personal loss that he struggled to deal with a little bit. Came to LSU, got hurt on multiple occasions, missed most of the year last season, and then this past season dealt with a shoulder injury all year, and I thought gave LSU an admirable amount of minutes. He is what he is. He's very athletic. He's tall and long. He's not a physical presence. He just doesn't have a lot of meat on the frame. And he's not a very skilled player in terms of putting the ball on the floor, knocking down shots. He's kind of a jumping jack around the rim. So he's certainly got basketball in his future. I think he's going to be a professional basketball player overseas someday. But not a guy that I think LSU is going to sweat too badly moving out. You've got a front court now in Woku coming in from Mississippi State. He's your big physical presence. You've got Jalen Reed coming back, who you think is going to be an offensive force for you if healthy. You got Robert Miller, who is coming in that, he's been here, is just going to be a sophomore next year, who, is skilled, was a 4-star recruit. He's got to put some some pounds on that frame and develop a little bit, but you hope that he can certainly do that. And then you bring in a big in this class as well. That's a top 75 player in the country. So you've got some front court depth. I think LSU would like to add one more offensive piece to the front court, but Damon Collins, you certainly wish him well, and you appreciate the grittiness he showed to play through some injury this year. But we'll see where he ends up. Maybe back with Cal at Arkansas. Kind of doubt it. We'll see where Damian Collins ends up, but he has entered the transfer portal. I talked a little earlier on the show today about LSU's most recent addition from the transfer portal in Max McGimmon. He is a 6'6" wing that can really shoot it, can really score, and played at Portland the last couple of seasons. If you want to hear that, you can at the end of hour number 1. If you missed any of the show today, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Opened the show today talking LSU and Oklahoma. Huge win for the Tigers last night behind Kade Anderson. Preston Guy talking Garrett Nussmeier and some LSU football. Broke down the Final Four as well. Koki Riley joined us in the second hour from Norman, Oklahoma, where he's covering LSU and the Sooners. Talked some Saints as well, and I gave you my thoughts on Kade Anderson, so you can catch that wherever you find your sound. There's only one more order of business here, and that is, of course, to play some Take It or Leave It on this Friday.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. Hunt, sources are saying that the PGA Tour rejected the PIF's recent offer to invest $1.5 billion as they're trying to join forces here with PGA Tour and LIV. PGA rejected it because the stipulation was that LIV would continue and remain intact. The PGA rejecting the offer. Take it or leave it.
Take it. I'll take it. Tell him to get out of town. This is very similar, I think, to Nick Mingione and Kentucky just running the clock out on Texas A&M last week. These 3-year contracts that a lot of these LIV guys signed for the cash are about to run out. And I think the guys that matter, the Brooks Koepkas of the world, got their cash and would rather come back and play in real golf tournaments as opposed to playing in front of nobody. And I think that the guys that they signed, like Ian Poulter or Henrik Stenson or Phil Mickelson or some of those guys, are no longer relevant in the game of golf and don't matter. So the PGA Tour doesn't care about those guys. So if you can get Brooks Koepka and Joaquin Niemann or whoever to come back, Bryson DeChambeau as well, because their contract runs out and then they can come on back. I don't know how well that works, but it's one tactic I think they're using, and I'm all for it. Just let LIV, quote-unquote, wither on the vine until the guys realize how stupid it is and they'll come back. So, yeah, I'm all for it. Don't give them an inch. They're operating out of a position, I believe, of weakness.
All right, next one here. AP Coach of the Year in men's basketball. The honor was shared by Bruce Pearl and Rick Pitino. Co-Coach of the Year award. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Because they obviously put it to a vote, and the vote literally tied. That's never happened before, and it happened this time around. So, yeah, I mean, both guys were awesome. St. John's hasn't been all that relevant in my life since, like, Ron Artest was there, and Rick Pitino got him to a 2 seed. So that's incredible work by him. And, Bruce Pearl has built an incredible program at Auburn. I vividly remember that first SEC tournament run that his team went on. It was either in year 2 that he was there, and they went on a tournament run to like Saturday or even Sunday with a team that wasn't very good. I remember him going into an auditorium at Auburn, painted, trying to get people to come to games, and he's built one of the most intimidating home environments in the country, and a team that can win a national championship. It's his Final Four, and second Final Four, and they're very, very good. So, yeah, I'm all for it. I think both those guys are great, great coaches.
All right, last one here. The Cubs, as you mentioned, are playing right now in the 6th inning. Shota Imanaga, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 4 hits, 1 strikeout. He's been really good so far. Shota in the running for the Cy Young. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that.
Leave it alone.
I haven't watched every pitch. You'll be real disappointed to hear this back. My laptop died about 10 minutes ago. So
I'm not disappointed. I'm just not surprised.
But I got a text that said they're hitting them all over the place, but the wind's blowing in and it's cold, so nothing's going anywhere, which makes a lot of sense. It's April in Wrigley. It's probably 44 degrees, and the wind's howling in. But, hey, in that instance, like last night in Norman,
throw strikes.
Go over the plate, see how far they can hit it. Probably not very far.
That's it.
All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It. I do want to remind you one last time about Red Stick Sports and their annual sidewalk sale. This is the 44th, and if you haven't been, I just highly recommend you come check it out. The savings are unbelievable. You're talking about half off of all gloves and bats. I know that there's a lot of youth football players, and that gear can be rather expensive. You want to get some football cleats right now for the fall, you can come in and get them for half off. All shoes, 20 to 75% off. LSU apparel, 25% off. I'm looking at a wall right now. It's got all kind of LSU stuff all over it. If you got an LSU fan in your life, or you're an LSU fan, come check out Red Stick Sports on Essen Lane right here at 5770 Essen. We always appreciate them for having us out each and every year. So come on by and see them. The sale tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's good. Excuse me. That's going to do it for us here on this Friday. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further View. We're back Monday, same time, same place for the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team are phenomenal to work with, and that's not necessarily the case with every insurance broker that you interact with. I did it for 7 years. I know how it works, and you don't often get positive Google reviews for your insurance broker. But if you go to the Highland Insurance Group on Google, you'll see more than 100 positive reviews because they're phenomenal to work with. They take customer service very, very seriously, and they're experts in terms of policy language. Far too often, in my opinion, and certainly that of Highland Insurance Group, you've got a broker that'll come and say, hey, bet you I can save you a couple bucks here, and they may cut off some important things there or may do something incorrectly to get you some savings that are illegitimate. That's never going to happen to you with the Highland Insurance Group. They're going to make sure that your business is put in position to maintain its stability if there's an event that happens. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.